Hello and welcome to the Bulldog Blitz football radio show presented by Two Hats Ranch. I'm the voice of the Bulldogs, Rob Bentley, alongside Sandy Golston. Episode number 8 already here this week as Ferris State gets ready to host the Michigan Tech Huskies. Coming up on Saturday at Top Tiger Field, kickoff set for 1 p.m. against Michigan Tech. And Sandy, the Bulldogs coming off a little bit of a short week here. Obviously, somewhat of a interesting game against Wayne State. You had the lightning delay in the middle of it, but the Bulldogs escape with a 27-14 win on the road in Detroit.
Yeah, interesting is putting it mildly. It's a situation that, we haven't had a chance to interview everybody about, their experience and how it might relate to past experiences, but I think it's pretty safe to say not very many people have had to go through a game that begins in the evening on one night. You get through a little more than a quarter and a half, lightning delay. You call it, more lightning, you delay, go back to the hotel. Fortunate to be able to get a hotel and accommodations, food for the team and the support staff, the coaches, and then you basically get ready to finish it the next day, late the next morning. And so just a very different type of a situation, but credit to the coaches and the administrators and the student athletes for being able to adjust to a very difficult situation that certainly highly unusual.
Of course, highly unusual, and it came in Detroit where the Bulldogs had a number of players making their return to their hometown. One of those guys we'll hear from today in Bryce George, offensive tackle for Ferris State, but a number of guys making the trip back to Detroit. Always a fun place for some of these Bulldog players to play. Unfortunately, it was kind of split over 2 days. That kind of split up some of the crowd, but nice to have a nice homecoming and come away with a victory.
Yeah, on Saturday, we had a really huge Bulldog section over there that had that visitor section completely full over there at Wayne State. And then we had a lot of standing room Bulldogs that were out there supporting the team. And not quite as many of them made the return trip on Sunday, but still a good number of Bulldog fans that were back on Sunday. And again, going to Detroit is always huge. It's huge for me. It's my hometown. It's huge for a number of the Bulldog players. It's great for our alumni. We have many alumni in Detroit, whether they played football or they did not play football, that wanted to come back and watch the Bulldogs. So it'll be great to hear from Bryce George, who's a Detroit guy, and he could probably speak to not only his experience, but some of the experiences of what some of the other Detroit guys might have been feeling coming back to their hometown.
We'll also hear on today's show from linebackers coach Grant Caserta as well. And, of course, Ferris State jumped out to that 10-0 lead. The Bulldogs scored on Saturday night at Wayne State right before the lightning kind of hit. Had a 10-0 lead. You come back on Sunday morning, Ferris State with 8 minutes left in the second quarter, able to extend it, a big 2-minute drive to end the first half as Ferris State took a 17-0 lead. But credit to Wayne State, you knew they were going to battle, and they cut it back to a field goal difference toward the end of the third period.
Yeah, Wayne State really did a good job of battling back, and it was a difficult situation for them as well. They did have a little bit of an advantage. They got to sleep in their own beds, but it still was an adjustment to them to have to play one game over 2 days. But give Wayne State credit. They were playing, I thought, pretty well on Saturday, but they really came out Sunday after the Bulldogs got that score, went up 17-0. Give Wayne State credit. Not many people have been able to put even one touchdown on that Bulldog defense. They were able to put 2 touchdowns on that Bulldog defense. So great comeback by Wayne State, 17-14. But what you like about that, Rob, is the Bulldogs did a great job of answering right after that. And I think that maybe pushed Wayne State back just a little bit and kind of reestablished order, so to speak.
I was going to mention that great response by Ferris State, a 73-yard run from Trinidad Chambliss, who put the Bulldogs on the doorstep. Zach Ahern able to finish the drive, and then Ferris State a key drive at the end of the third, beginning of the fourth, to get the field goal from Mitch Middleton to make it a 27-14 score, which was the final. The Bulldogs did have another late drive where they really chewed up a lot of time in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, it was really it was a good win for the Bulldogs in the sense that it was a game where you had an opponent that was playing really well, an opponent that was a little bit desperate, more than a little bit desperate to get its first win of the season. And the Bulldogs maybe a little bit off their game, but the Bulldogs found a way, and they had to grind it out. And who knows, that could end up being a blessing for the Bulldogs down the line, that they had to grind this one out and yet still come away with the win.
Speaking of grind it out, we had to do that as well. Weren't quite prepared, and we certainly learned some lessons on the trip to Detroit. Always be prepared, especially for an evening game when you go on the road here in the GLIAC.
Yeah, I'm definitely relying on the Eagle Scout here. Who's going to help me, help us all be a little bit more prepared. But I think we'll bring more provisions for some of these night games in the future, because it was a challenge for all of us. I mean, nobody packed overnight bags like we did when we went to American International, and didn't have toothbrush, toothpaste, and yet we all found a way. And it was not an ideal circumstance, but I don't think any of us wanted to not finish that game. And so I think that was the driving force, not only for us and for the rest of our team, but also for the Wayne State team as well.
I was going to mention the Wayne State team. Obviously, we mentioned it during the broadcast, but outstanding work by both universities and the administration, especially, on the Wayne State side, having to deal with coming back and playing almost a second home game on Sunday.
It is. And from, their upper level athletic administration, athletic director Erica Wallace to Jeff Weiss, their sports information director, who we know very well, and he's scrambling to find staff. The Lions are playing Dallas, so everybody's excited. Everybody wants to see the Lions play the Cowboys, and we had to finish that football game, and then that was first, because we're there for the student athletes and to make sure that they have the best experience that they can have. And part of the best experience they can have is to play a full game.
Of course, this Saturday, Ferris State back at home. A little bit of a short week with the preparation. We'll talk more about that with Coach Caserta and Bryce George here on the show today. But a little bit of a short week, but Ferris State happy to be back at home and taking on a very good Michigan Tech team this Saturday at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, Michigan Tech's always a tough team. I think you're going to hear that from Coach Caserta. I think you're going to hear that from Bryce George. This is a team that prepares very well. They play very physical. They play very tough. They throw some wrinkles in there. They have some talented skill players offensively. So it's going to be a really good test for the Bulldogs.
Ferris State at home. The Bulldogs going to unveil, hopefully, a new scoreboard, video board here this Saturday, which will be a nice treat for the fans. And obviously gearing up here, this GLIAC schedule getting tougher and tougher as we go.
Yeah, it's going to get tougher and tougher, just like you said. And we know that there's some good opponents that are coming up, and you're going to have to be on your game, and not just if you're Ferris State, but everybody in the GLIAC, because there are a number of teams in the GLIAC where you're looking at that GLIAC race and it could come right down to the very end. So you're going to have to take every single week seriously. As the Bulldogs found out last week against Wayne State, every game is going to count.
Of course, we'll talk more about what's going on both in the GLIAC and on the national stage. A few more upsets this past week. Obviously, some big games in terms of the super region implications both last week and this week coming up. So a lot going on here in Division II football as we reach kind of the midway point here of the season.
Yeah, it's the midway point of the season. It's hard to believe. It feels like it wasn't that long ago that we got started. Yet when you go outside in northern Michigan, you can feel that, it probably was a long time ago. It's starting to get into sweater season here. So we're about the halfway point, and it's definitely time to, not that it wasn't before, but it's really time to buckle down now.
We'll be back with more of the Bulldog Blitz football radio show presented by Two Hats Ranch after this break on the Bulldog Sports Network and Sunny 97.3. And welcome back, everyone, to the Bulldog Blitz football radio show presented by Two Hats Ranch. Rob Bentley and Sandy Golston with you. We're joined now by Ferris State University offensive tackle Bryce George. And Bryce, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
I know, obviously, this past week, a little unique here for the Bulldogs. Back in Detroit, your hometown, and certainly it was very interesting. Have you ever had to play a game and finish it the following day?
No, that was a first for me and a first for many, I believe. It was certainly a first from our O-line coach, Coach Parker, so it was a little challenging, but our team handled it very well, and the staff and everything got it all situated very well, so it was great. It's a little weird to come out and play like 12 hours later, but worked out well. We got a win out of it, so.
What was kind of the message, I guess, when you had the delay and you had to go back into the locker room and then wait it out for a little bit? Coming back the next day, what was kind of the message coming back on Sunday?
Well, first we, because like obviously we were thinking like maybe we get 30 minutes and we can go up and play again. But then he came in and Coach Neese was like, hey, it's either no contest or we got to wait and play tomorrow. So obviously none of us were like, we're not no contest and we'll come out and we're playing tomorrow. So the message was just, hey, get rest, lock back in, just relax tonight, just try to like get it out of here because you're all amped up and get ready for the game. Like you're just got out of a game basically. Not like you haven't even played the second half yet. You're just all hyped up for it. So just calming down from that was the message, and then like getting ready for that second half the next day.
for you playing back in Detroit. What was that like playing in front of, obviously some family and friends?
Yeah, it's always nice to get back to Detroit. So, I mean, my family was there. I know a whole bunch of my teammates, Jarv, his family, OB on the O-line, and the receiver were there. I mean, I'm gonna guess his family was there. So, but it was nice. It's always nice to go home and play and just be in front of everyone and get to see everyone.
Obviously, being here to the midway point kind of the season, for you being one of the offensive linemen coming back, you guys had an experienced group coming back. What's it been like just being around those guys every day again, and maybe talk about how the offensive line has really kind of came together?
It's great. I mean, I've known these guys since I've been here. I mean, most of the guys that the younger guys, they're coming in well, but like everyone that we are playing with right now is like just been here for 3-4 years, so it's just all nice and tight, like nice tight group of guys, and it's just we really like have a harmony to each other, where we just know where people are going to be and like where we're going to like set ourselves and like how we're going to block. So it's nice to have that unity of the offensive line, so we can just grind out and go through this season just playing the best ball we got.
Obviously, here now in a couple games into the GLIAC season, maybe just talk about the competition, how it's got harder now as you're playing conference games, and obviously these GLIAC games are only going to get tougher from here on out.
Yep. I mean, GLIAC, I believe, is the hardest division in D2, so it's always going to be tough games. Even the opponent coming up, Michigan Tech, they're going to be a tough matchup. So, but I mean, it's been nice getting some competition back again and really testing out like how we are as all line and seeing like that we are good enough to like go and make a run for this.
And then what's it been like? Let's go back to the offensive line, and you guys grew in together. What's it been like for you guys? Because you guys came in as young guys, and you kind of took the baton, so to speak, in track and field from an older group that had been in there for a little bit. And what's it been like for you guys to grow as an offensive line together? Yeah,
after that first season of winning it in 2021, it was like most of the team just left the offense, especially the offensive line, is just like they were just gone. So that next year was nice, and like it was a big learning experience for these past like 2 years, besides the 2021 year where it was all the older guys. So it's been nice to grow with these guys and really realize and really realize like that we can play together and we can be at that level again, just as those older guys like did the same thing, just coming up together and just learning from each other.
And then what makes Coach Parker special? Because we had a chance to cover him when he was a player here. And what's the slim down Sam Parker like as a coach?
The slim down Parker, I don't know what he was like as a player much, but like the slim down Parker is a little weird. I mean, in a good way. Just like some of the stuff he goes out and just does is not questionable, just a little here and there. I mean, just a little weird to me, but I mean, it's really nice, and he's really backing us, and like he's always been for us. So, and I mean, he's always a positive guy, and always like putting his best foot forward, and always learning and getting better by coaching us.
And then, I mean, tell us about the Nasty Boys. I mean, where did that come from? Well, we know the Andersons are different, but
do you want? I think I do believe we've went over the origin story. I don't know if you guys know about it, but so it did start with Tim Bob, the twins. So apparently, I think Coach Parker sent them a text, like one of their like clips from a game. They were like this was a great play, and then all Tim Bob responded with was, "That's nasty." And our Coach Parker, is a huge WWE fan, so he went back and there's these two tag team guys from I don't know how late it was, but in the older WWE, and they're called the Nasty Boys, and that was what he brought into offensive line room. Like he just likes to bring a little persona to us. And that's what just stuck. And it's been us ever since.
It seemed to really have caught on. And shout out to Coach Parker. I know he is a big old school WWE fan. So shout out to Coach Parker. I know you guys really like growing together, and you guys have really, what's run blocking, pass blocking? What is there either one that you like more than the other?
Run. We want to run the ball. That's all we care about. We just want to if we could, we'd be just like, I would say Harding, because just that that mentality of just running the ball the whole time.
Yeah, they are something else to watch. I can tell you that. When Carson went down, you guys really seemed, I think, as an offense, to a larger degree or whatever, you guys really seemed to kind of bond together even more, because you guys immediately put that touchdown right there in. You kind of finished off that big run that he had, and then you guys, in a lot of ways, just really took off from there.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously it hurt, and it's a sad thing that what happened to Carson, but I mean, not to downplay what he's done, and obviously he has records to show that he's a great player, but it's always about the next man up. It's just, we had to keep rolling. And I mean, he's still out of practice. He's still with us, so it's not even like he's gone. It's just, unfortunately, he's not playing with us.
And then Trinidad has really grown tremendously, and I think a lot of you guys felt like it was a really tough game in week 0 against Pitt State, but you guys really picked yourselves up after that Pitt State game. What did you see from the team that allowed them to kind of refocus and get this thing back on track? Because there was no panic in that locker room. Yeah,
it was just mentality of like, oh, this isn't us. This isn't like who we are as a team and what we want to do. It sucked. It was the first game, and we just kind of came out flat. But that's not us, and it was just that mentality of like, hey, forget about it. We gotta go. We gotta move on, and it's next week. Yeah. And then you guys, obviously an unusual game that you and Rob went over a little bit against Wayne State, and starting at night and then finishing, early the next afternoon, which is just crazy to even think about it. But how do you guys recover from that with a short week to get ready for a Michigan Tech team that's been pretty solid this year? Yep. I mean, the game Sunday was basically just having like a Sunday practice. Not to say that it was just a practice like game. It was just like, it was at practice time. It was just like moving everything from Monday just to Sunday, because we came back, had the day off, and then meetings really quick. But I mean, it was a little quicker than like our regular weeks, but we just all came together and were like, hey, we can do it quick. We have meetings at 11 and just have the day and just recover. And then Tuesday, today, just come back, and it's just a regular week now, and you gotta get ready. And then last question before I kick it back to Rob. What's it like playing Michigan Tech? Michigan Tech's always physical on the line. They play tough. And what's it like? In some ways, it's going to be like looking in the mirror, because that's the way you guys like to play. Yeah, it is like looking in the mirror. They're a tough team. They just come off the ball hard, and they like to hit. So just like us. But the big thing is their stunts and everything is it's just going to be a little tougher to pick up. But we're grinding this week, and we're going to come out and punch them in the mouth. Let's go.
Bryce, maybe talk about what brought you to Ferris State, why becoming a Bulldog, and obviously I know a little bit of a transition, kind of moving to the offensive line after you got here.
Yeah, what got me to Ferris was mostly my high school coach, Coach Brock. Shout out to Coach Brock. He runs Sound Mind, Sound Body. He's really tight with a lot of head coaches. So he would take me to camps and everything, and one of the camps he took me to was a Ferris State camp. I think it was one that was at East English Village, and then one was at River Rouge. And I guess I just showed out enough because I would do one-on-ones for DNs, and then I'd do one-on-ones for a tight end. So I guess I showed out enough to where Coach Neese gave me a head nod and was like, oh, we're going to offer you, and just keep playing. And just over the basketball season too, and then you just saw like I had the size and the athleticism to play at this level.
I know, obviously, since you've been here at Ferris State, you've been on the track and field team as well as a thrower. Maybe talk about how that's different than being on the football field, and what really draws you to track and field.
I mean, I did track and field in high school a little bit, but what drew me to it was just Coach Larry. He was in the rubber room throwing around. I think they were throwing the hammer, and I literally just picked it up and I handed that to him, and he was like, "Well, if you can hold it like that, you can probably throw it pretty far, can't you?" So I was like, "Yeah, I can." And I mean, I've always just loved competing, and it just gives me another chance to compete. So that was the big reason. And also, I mean, it's just fun to get another group of student athletes just to know and just to talk.
Finally here, maybe talk about your academic program here at Ferris State, what you hope to do once football is kind of all said and done.
I mean, I'm in construction management, and a lot of the O-line is in construction management with me. I mean, I've always grown up, and I just liked building and figuring out how things work and everything. So, I mean, I just hope to find a nice company after this season or the next, and just see if I can start at entry level, like a project manager position, and just take my career from there. Either it's building up a small subcontract company, or just going to one of the bigger companies, just learning everything I can from them.
And when are you graduating? Targeting?
Hopefully this semester. If not, it will definitely be next semester.
Okay, beautiful.
I do have one more question for you. How excited are you to be back Saturday? Obviously, some beautiful weather expected, and to play here in front of the home fans at Top Taggart again.
I mean, it's so exciting to get back out there. I play every game like it's like my last. I mean, it just is nice, and also it's nice to get out there with my boys, the nasty boys.
Well, Bryce, thanks for the time, and best of luck here against the Huskies on Saturday.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We'll be back with more of the Bulldog Blitz Football Radio Show after this break. And welcome back, everyone, to the Bulldog Blitz Football Radio Show presented by Two Hats Ranch. Rob Bentley and Sandy Golston with you as we take a look at what's going on both on the conference and on the national level here in this next segment. And obviously another big week here around the country. We had a few upsets we'll talk about, some big games coming up this week here in Division II football.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to take a look around not only the GLIAC, but around the nation, in our region and other regions as well, regions that the Bulldogs certainly want to keep an eye on in case you get to postseason and you start to look around the nation a little bit closer. But now is a good time to be keeping tabs on how people around the country are doing.
Let's go around the country. In terms of the national rankings, these rankings reflected last week by D2Football.com. Number 16, Charleston defeated Wheeling 42-23. Number 23, Findlay fell to Ashland, an Ashland team we saw here earlier this year, but kind of a decisive score at 41-21.
We told a lot of people that looked at the game that we had against Ashland. We were very dominant in that game, but we said that's a good football team, Ashland. Do not sleep on that team, and they're showing it right now. They got a chance to put a stranglehold on that conference.
Number 6, Kutztown defeated Lockhaven. They shut them out 24-0. It was number 19, Lenore Rhine, bouncing back from their first loss of the season. They defeat Newberry 24-3. Number 18, Carson Newman over Mars Hill. That was a tight one, 28-27. Number 9, Minnesota State also rebounds from a loss as they defeated Minnesota State Moorhead in a close one, 24-19.
Yeah, that was a tight one right there, and Minnesota State could ill afford to drop another one right there. They got pushed there by Moorhead, but good job there by the Mavericks to find a way to grind that one out.
12th ranked Ouachita Baptist. We'll talk more about them here coming up shortly. They defeated East Central to stay unbeaten by a score of 40-0. It was Slippery Rock number 8 over Gannon 35-17. Huge game in the MIAA where Central Oklahoma, still unbeaten, the number 11 team in the country, now moves into the top 10 as they defeat Northwest Missouri by a score of 48-20.
Well, they can put up some points, and obviously you get 48 points against Northwest Missouri. That's good. They put them right there at 20. So some people have been wondering about Central Oklahoma's defense, but pretty solid defense right there. But maybe more impressively, 48 points against Northwest Missouri.
Number 15, Colorado Mines rallies back as they defeated South Dakota Mines 45-20 after they had been beat just a week or two ago. Number 20, Augustana over Minot State 20-7. Also in the national rankings, number 17, Emporia State defeats Missouri Southern 49-30. We'll talk more about the GLIAC where Saginaw Valley State number 24 defeated Roosevelt 27-14. Western Colorado number 10 over Black Hills 35-14. Number 1 Harding continuing to roll. They defeat Northwestern Oklahoma by a score of 62-0.
Yeah, it's just seems like a freight train right there. Harding is just running over everybody right now. I believe they still have Ouachita left to play as a team that might challenge them, but we thought Henderson State was going to, and they beat Henderson State handily. So Harding looking very tough again.
West Alabama, number 13, defeated Mississippi College 26-0. Number 4, Pittsburgh State over Nebraska Kearney on homecoming in Kearney, Nebraska, 20-10. The final score in that ball game. Number 3, Valdosta State, a little bit of a tight one. They defeat North Greenville 32-24. Colorado State Pueblo, I believe, trailed at halftime, but they beat Fort Lewis 58-24. Final score in that ball game. Number 25, Delta State, upset by West Florida 40-28. So West Florida trying to get back on track after a couple tough losses here, one of them being to Grand Valley State.
Yeah, that was a bit of a surprise right there. Delta State had just snuck into the top 25, and West Florida, stumbled a few times, but boy, I tell you what, impressive win right there over Delta State.
Number 22, Indianapolis here in Super Region 3 over Quincy, 47-10. Mentioned the Bulldogs, of course, over Wayne State. Ferris State, number 5 in the D2Football.com poll, 27-14. The final, Central Washington upset by Texas Permian Basin, 14-13 the score. Central Washington was number 7. And then, of course, in the GLIAC, number 2, Grand Valley State over Northern Michigan, 49-17. And that leads us into our GLIAC results from this past week. We mentioned GVSU over Northern Michigan, 49-17. Ferris State beats Wayne State. Saginaw Valley, we talked about kind of a tight one against Roosevelt, 27-14 the final. Cardinals did score late in that one.
Yeah, one thing about Roosevelt, and we talked about this, Roosevelt is a very well-coached team. They came in with us. They had a good scheme. They had a good game plan, and they were able to slow us down a little bit early in the game. We eventually adjusted and ended up winning handily, but gave a little bit of a tough time to Saginaw Valley State, but give the Cardinals credit. They find a way to get a win on the road.
Of course, this week, Ferris State will take on Michigan Tech. The Huskies fall at home to Houghton, or in Houghton, to Davenport by a score of 24-20. That was kind of a tight ball game throughout.
Yeah, it was. And Davenport is a good football team. And that was really a must win for Davenport, as they're hanging on to hopes that they could try to find a way into the playoffs. It's going to be tough. And, they'd like to be, as the way things are looking right now, they want to be battling with Saginaw Valley to maybe be that third team the way things look right now. But of course, a lot of football left to be played. But big win for Saginaw Valley. But, Michigan Tech's going to come back. They're going to look to regroup and rally as they come to Big Rapids.
Let's take a look at the GLIAC matchups this week. Ferris State, of course, hosting Michigan Tech. We'll talk more about that here as this show goes on. Roosevelt will go on the road to Northern Michigan. The Lakers looking for their first ever GLIAC win in Marquette up inside the Superior Dome. Wayne State will travel to Davenport. So a tough matchup for the Warriors as they look for their first win as well. And then a huge game, the Battle of the Valleys in University Center. Saginaw Valley State playing host to number 2 Grand Valley State.
Well, I'm going to start in an odd direction for a lot of our fans. Roosevelt and Northern Michigan is going to be very, very interesting. Two teams that really obviously want to get a win. Both teams have been struggling. Northern Michigan's really been struggling. Roosevelt maybe has shown a little bit more in terms of signs that they might be able to get this win, but you never know. Northern's going to be at home in the Dome, so that's going to be an interesting matchup, even though both teams have been struggling this year. And looking at the Battle of the Valleys, that's going to be big to see where both teams are. Is Saginaw Valley State for real? They've worked their way into the national rankings, and they've had a really good season. They had to stumble against Northwood. Grand Valley's been very good. They're playing a little bit of a different style than what we've seen from them in past years, but they're still obviously very good, undefeated, ranked number 2 in the country. So that should be a really interesting matchup, especially with Grand Valley having to go on the road.
Of course, Northern Michigan at home inside the Dome. I think if anything is safe to say, they're not going to have as many people as they did for the basketball matchup against Michigan State this past Sunday.
No, definitely not. Unless Coach Izzo is going to come back and be like an honorary captain or something like that. And even then, I'm not sure they're going to have that many fans. But that was a great game there with Coach Izzo getting his jersey retired, getting honored by Northern Michigan, and then the Spartans playing the Wildcats in the Superior Dome. And wow, it was a great setting.
Let's go around the country here, back to football. And Findlay at Ohio Dominican in the Great Midwest Athletic Conference. Ashland at Thomas More. Tiffin at Walsh. All 3 GMAC games. West Florida will go on the road to Chowan. It's Miles at Clark Atlanta. Battle that has some significance down in the southern part of the country. Hillsdale at Lake Erie. Another GMAC game. Kentucky Wesleyan and Northwood. It seems like a lot of these games are GMAC games, maybe because we're a little more familiar with these schools that are playing in these matchups.
Yeah, we know some of these schools a little bit better because if we have not played them directly, we're just very familiar with them, having either been in the region now or in the past. So we know some of these teams pretty well.
Indianapolis in the rankings will travel to McKendree. Big game in the GLVC. Central Oklahoma is at Northeastern State, a heavy favorite in that ball game. You got Duluth at Sioux Falls out in the Northern Sun. Colorado Mines will be at Adams State. Black Hill State at Colorado State Pueblo. Nebraska Kearney at Missouri Western in the MIAA. Big game, we would have thought, going into the year between Central Missouri and Northwest Missouri, but both teams with a couple losses already here early in the year.
Yeah, I think Northwest Missouri pretty much out of the playoff picture. Central Missouri hanging on by a thread, but a matchup probably a couple weeks ago that looked like it was going to be really, really good. Still could be a very good matchup, but maybe not the postseason implications that had maybe a couple weeks ago.
Maybe the feature matchup of the week in the MIAA, it'll be Fort Hays State traveling to the Jungle to take on Pittsburgh State. Also around the country, West Alabama will be at Delta State. Big game in the Gulf South. Western Oregon at Permian Basin in the Lone Star Conference. Also Angelo State at Midwestern State. And then maybe the two biggest games maybe in the Great American Conference. You got Henderson State at Southern Arkansas, as that's a top four matchup in the GAC, and the big one is Harding at Ouachita Baptist, battle ranked unbeaten teams with maybe the championship in the Great American Conference on the line.
If Ouachita can't stumble Harding up in this game, I think Harding is got a pretty clear path through the end of the regular season.
We'll be back with more of the Bulldog Blitz football radio show after this timeout here on the Bulldog Sports Network in Sunny 97.3. And welcome back, everyone, to the Bulldog Blitz football radio show presented by Two Hats Ranch. Rob Bentley and Sandy Golston with you as we scout this week's opponent, the Michigan Tech University Huskies, here to take on the Bulldogs on Saturday, 1 p.m. at Top Tiger Field. And the Bulldogs at 5-1, Michigan Tech at 4-2. Big game with some conference implications here on the line.
Yeah, the Bulldogs are looking to keep this thing going. And I think they're looking to, I don't want to say bounce back, but they're looking to get a stronger performance here coming off of a hard-fought win over Wayne State on the road in Detroit. And then you're facing a Michigan Tech team, number one, even before you talk about what happened last week with the Huskies, a team that always comes in well-coached. They're going to play hard. They're going to play physical on the line of scrimmage. They got some skilled players offensively. And if you're not on your game, they can get you. So now, Tech's coming off a tough loss to Davenport in a battle of two teams that were looking to try to position themselves to be one of those GLIAC teams to get into the postseason. And so Bulldogs are going to be facing a very tough, hungry, well-coached Michigan Tech team looking to bounce back.
This has been one of the GLIAC's best series over the years. In fact, you look at the all-time series mark, 34 wins for the Bulldogs, 34 wins for the Huskies, and 4 ties here. Does not get much more even than that in the long-term history between these two schools.
That's about as tight as it gets for our Division III basketball fans. You're getting into some Hope Calvin men's basketball territory right there with the tightness of that. That's probably even tighter than what Hope and Calvin is right now. But, it's been a good rivalry over the years. And, again, two programs with a lot of pride.
Been a good rivalry, but as of late, it's been heavily favored to Ferris State. The Bulldogs have an 11-game series winning streak. A couple of those wins at Fifth Third Ballpark, now LMCU Ballpark down in Comstock Park. Of course, the battle at the ballpark been played a couple times. Bulldogs against Michigan Tech under head coach Tony Annese, 11-0. But we've had some tight ball games even last year. A 35-21 Ferris State win in Houghton, game that did not quite get out of hand for the Huskies.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that you look at Michigan Tech. You can't come in, thinking it's going to be this huge margin. I mean, they're too good. They're going to compete. They're going to fight. They're going to scrap. They're going to claw. And so you got to come in ready. You got to bring your lunch pail. You got to bring your work boots, and you got to be ready to go, so to speak, against Michigan Tech, because they're going to come ready to play. And so this is going to be a grinded out type of a game for the Bulldogs.
Of course, we mentioned the Bulldogs 11-0 under head coach Tony Annese against the Huskies. That's half the wins he's had against the Upper Peninsula. He's 22-0 against the two UP schools. school, so has never lost to an Upper Peninsula team coming into this Saturday's matchup.
Well, if the Bulldogs are going to keep that going, then they're certainly going to look to really step up from what happened against Wayne State. Again, a win is a win, and you'll take it. But the Bulldogs know that there's some room for growth, and that's going to be a focus for them. That has been a focus for them early this week, and it will continue to be a focus for them as they continue preparation for the Huskies.
Of course, Michigan Tech 4-2, 1-1 in the GLIAC, and they've won some games in some different styles this year. Had that big scoring explosion game against South Dakota Mines, I believe, early in the year that went to multiple overtimes. They've won some tight ball games. Just lost a narrow contest to Davenport, obviously, the other day.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that impresses you about Michigan Tech is that they can grind out a low-scoring game. They can grind out a high-scoring, tight game, and they've shown that they can put some big points on the scoreboard. We talked about this. They've got some really talented skill players, and so when they start hitting them and they start to really put that offensive scheme to play, they can be very difficult to handle. And so the Bulldog defense is going to definitely need all three levels of that Bulldog defense is going to have to be on point. So they're going to have to be able to get pressure on the quarterback, but they're going to have to be able to defend people on the edges. They're going to have to be able to defend those receivers. And so that's going to require a great team effort.
Of course, Ferris State and Michigan Tech kickoff set for Saturday at 1 o'clock. We'll have the Bulldog Tailgate Show presented by Fox Motors at 11 a.m. With the Johnson Automotive pregame show at noon. Going to be a beautiful day by all indications. Top Tiger Field should be a lot of fun as Michigan Tech, always a team that traditionally, especially here in the Lower Peninsula, draws a nice crowd here to face Ferris State.
Yeah, those Michigan Tech engineers are going to be coming up from all over the Lower Peninsula to watch their Huskies. And, we've seen that in some of the games that we played down in Comstock Park and, games that are in Big Rapids as well. They get a chance to, the Downstate Huskies get a chance to come and watch their team play. And so, there's going to be a really good crowd and it's going to be a fun atmosphere. It always is when Ferris State plays Michigan Tech.
Of course, Michigan Tech coming in against Ferris State. The Bulldogs have the Anchorbone Classic coming up a week from Saturday down at Lubbers Stadium in Allendale, but you can't look past this Michigan Tech team as you get ready for Saturday's challenge.
Of all teams, you can't look past this Michigan Tech team because, they have the ability to do some things spectacularly, which is maybe a little bit different than their tradition. They usually are very physical, grind it out. They're going to run the ball. They're going to stop the run. But this year they have some playmakers out there that can stretch the field a little bit more. And so the Bulldogs are going to have to be wary of that. And so I think, coming off of the Wayne State game, Bulldogs looking to see if they can, maybe try to use that as a wake-up call, so to speak, and to really be able to bounce back and lock in because you got to for that Grand Valley game to be important and for the Ferris game to be important for Grand Valley, both teams have to win this week.
Of course, Ferris State and Michigan Tech, again, kickoff set for Saturday at 1 p.m. Right here at Top Tiger Field. You can get your tickets online, along with parking at ferrisstatebulldogs.com/tickets. We'll be back with more of the Bulldog Blitz Football Radio Show after this timeout right here on the Bulldog Sports Network in Sunny 97.3. And welcome back, everyone, to the Bulldog Blitz Football Radio Show presented by Two Hats Ranch. We're joined now by Ferris State University assistant coach Grant Caserta. And, Coach, first of all, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks. I've been watching some of the other coaches on here, so I'm excited to have my turn.
You got big shoes to fill after we had Coach Parker on here last week.
Yeah, I understand he set a record, which is not a surprise. He's a storyteller by nature and, got some good ones.
Obviously, this past week, a good one here against Wayne State University, kind of unique. Maybe talk about the challenge it presented with the lightning delay and having to come back and play on Sunday.
Yeah, we were kind of watching it all week, hoping that it would just be rain a little bit in the second half, and then the lightning, we just had to kind of wait it out, and it was like we got three options. Either they're going to say it's our game, and they weren't going to do that, and it's a no contest, and we weren't going to do that. So it's like, all right, we're going back to the hotel, grab the post-game meal we were supposed to eat, and then basically just reprogram yourself, and it's Friday night again, and you're going to try to just go through the same routine you always go through.
Maybe talk about how the players really adapted and how they stepped up to the challenge and obviously kind of handled the situation.
Yeah, I mean, they did great. It was nobody's really been through that situation before, but the guys just rolled with it. There's no complaining. It was just, all right, this is what we're going to do, and we went back to the hotel and everything was real smooth. Kurt Faust did a great job with the logistics, and all the coaches helped, get food and get everything set up and hand out keys. And then it was just like any other road trip at that point. Everyone stayed focused. It was just a little bit longer than normal.
I know you as the linebackers coach here at Ferris State, how nice is it to have some guys that are veteran leaders, whether it's Cepha or Jason Williams, when Connor Neer was around early in the year, maybe what's it been like having some of those guys kind of be the leaders for your group?
Yeah, I mean, Cepha and Jason and Connor especially, those guys have been around a long time, 2 fifth-year and a 6-year guy, so they know the expectations. They're good leaders. They've got the respect of their teammates and their coaches, so it makes it easy for me because I can really coach them on the finer details of playing linebacker. They've got the basics down. They understand the defense. They can bring their teammates along. And we've got some other guys coming up that will definitely benefit from being around those guys too.
Maybe as a whole, talk about the defense and what the play's been like. Obviously, that unit's been kind of tough to score against here over the course of the season.
Yeah, I think obviously we have some room to improve, but we've been happy with what we've seen so far. We've got a lot of talent on that side of the football and a lot of guys that bring different things to the table, which I think makes it hard for offenses because we've got pass rushers and we've got run stoppers and we've got versatile linebackers and good cover guys and hard-hitting safeties. So for us, it's just about executing and trying to get all on the same page, get all 11 guys executing at the rate that we need them to because our guys play with great effort. They love to hit. They love to run to the ball, which makes it easy. If somebody makes a mistake, somebody's going to be there to clean it up. So you can kind of play a little bit more free that way.
And when you look at a veteran linebacker core that you guys have, and you had some experienced linebackers coming back anyway, and then all of a sudden Connor's back in the mix, and talk about how those guys that were here in the program last year, how they welcomed Connor back and how Connor was able to fit in. That's pretty special.
Yeah, that was the cool thing about our team is in some situations somebody might be intimidated by that, like, oh, this guy's going to come and take my job or cut my reps. All anybody cares about here is winning. So when we can add another good player, even if it's at my position, I'm excited because it makes us as a team better. And, every year there's going to be some injury somewhere. So you need more than just 2 guys to play. And obviously, unfortunately, Connor was the one that got hurt, and the other guys were there to pick up the slack until he comes back. So it's just a testament to our guys, Cepha and Jason especially being the older guys, just to not see it as a threat, but be excited about it. This is going to make us better as a team.
Okay, and when you go out in recruiting, and if you what characteristics are you looking for in a linebacker? So tell people, what makes a great linebacker. What is Grant Caserta looking for when he's going out and recruiting? What are those characteristics that make a great linebacker?
I always like to see guys that have really good instincts, that are quick to the ball. I'm not so caught up on height and weight and 40 time and that kind of thing. You can just tell when you're watching a kid that he's got a nose for the ball. He takes good pass to the ball, and he's got some pop when he gets there. Those are the main things I'm looking for football-wise. And then in addition to that, I'd like them to be a leader or a captain of their team, somebody that can command the respect of their teammates on defense and on offense as well, because those guys are going to have to communicate with everybody, the back end guys, the front end guys. So having guys like that just makes it easy for the defense to operate the way it's supposed to when you've got guys that are out front and they feel comfortable in that role, and they just kind of have that characteristic.
Okay, and that's a good segue into my next question, because when you're a linebacker and you're out there pre-snap, just give like the fans an idea what kind of things are your linebackers looking for when they're trying to get their defense set to get ready for the snap.
Yeah, so the first thing they're going to worry about is their alignment based on formation. So that's going to be like the basic thing, getting lined up right. And then we always have to set the front, so we're telling the D-line where they need to line up, and making any other calls we might have if we have a blitz on, echoing the coverage call, making sure that we're in the right rotation. And then from there, it's reading your keys, whether it's run or pass. Where do I need to go from there? And those are just the very basics. The really good ones can focus on, remembering some formational tendencies that we gave them in our meetings leading up to the game, understanding what might be coming, run or pass, or what type of run. A cut split by a receiver might mean this, or a tight end a little bit wider might mean that. Things like that. Those guys, the really good ones, can process that, and it makes them faster. So that's like kind of what I was saying about the high school kids. Some kids that can do that are a lot faster on the field than they are running a 40. And I'd rather have the kid that has a little bit more instinct and intuition that can really get to the ball, rather than somebody that can just run fast and maybe is going to be a step or two late because they're not reading the key.
How much film are your guys studying as part of what you guys do normally, and maybe how much are they doing on their own? Because you gotta, what you laid out is you got to be pretty knowledgeable in addition to having the physical and characteristics and the intangibles.
Yeah, we meet every day that we're allowed to meet as a group, and we'll watch some of the opponent film and some corrections from practice. And then I don't really have to tell those guys to do it, but they just do. And we can track how much film time people are watching, and every week it's guys with multiple hours of film watch on their own. So I give them a little checklist of things to take a peek at, in terms of what are their tendencies, what are their guys like, what are their play styles, and they can go through that on their own and get a little bit more information than we can give them in the meetings. So I try to keep the meeting short, try to keep their attention, and be really focused on one certain thing during the meeting, and then when they're on their own, they can start to kind of think like a coach on their own and see what they can find. Because we welcome that. There was a game, I won't say who we were playing, but our guys came back and were like, Coach, every time the right tackle's in this stance right here, it's a pass. And every time he's in this stance, it's a run. And like, we went back and looked at it, and they were right. It was like 100%. And we went into that game, and they were calling out run or pass every single down. And it was something that the guys found on their own. We didn't find it. They did, just from their own film study. So those guys, if they can find a little extra edge, or they can get a profile on the guys they're going against, it just gives them a little bit of a leg up.
Yeah, and then talk about you guys as a defensive staff, because each position is coaching and they're driving their guys hard. But then on game day, you guys have to bring it all together, and you guys have to bring it all together in your preparation during the week, of course, too. But you guys got some really strong coaching personalities and some guys with a lot of experience, but you guys really seem to click. Just talk about that chemistry that you guys have as a staff.
Yeah, I think it starts with our defensive staff with, Ryan Hodges and Tony Anise and Tesfa Smith, Tyler Shreve, and the rest of the guys, Owen Schusler and Garrett Pistro, Marcus Remtema, Aaron Murphy, Jordan Jones, all those guys. Everybody loves football. We like being around each other. When we game plan, we have a good time. So it's not a situation where anybody's got a big ego or it's my idea versus yours. So when we're going into game planning and we're putting in installs or planning practice or things like that, we're all kind of pulling in the same direction. And I think that just makes it that much easier when you're going into practice and you believe in the plan that you're putting forth for your guys. Then I think it makes it a lot better for just overall, install and execution, because the coaches are all on board with what's going on.
And then last question for me before we go back to Rob. All the coaches being on board, you guys have been able to keep this coaching staff together for the most part. And, there's going to be some that are going to come and go, but it seems like you guys have been able to really stay tight as a coaching staff.
Yeah, I mean, that's huge. I came here in 2021, and I don't think we've had any full-time people leave since then. And our defensive staff, the core of us has been the same, and we've added a couple guys like Shreve and Jordan Jones, who got done playing, and Marcus, same thing. So it's been really easy. Every year we just come in and everybody knows the personality of the other. We all are kind of on the same page with what we're doing scheme-wise, and we can just work on growing as opposed to trying to get people up to speed. And that just, I think it makes it really easy on us to continue to try to get us on the trajectory we want.
Grant, maybe talk about a little bit about your background. Obviously, your dad was a coach, and then going to Saginaw Valley and playing linebacker and playing in the GLIAC, and how that has helped you, I guess, here at Ferris State.
Yeah, like you said, my dad was a coach. He coached at West Ottawa High School and then Holland Christian High School for a long time. So growing up, I was just always around football. I can remember sitting in my living room with my dad watching VCR tapes of his film and, trying to pick out the numbers on the other team's kids and make scouting reports. And, then I was the ball boy and the water boy and all that stuff. So there was like nothing else that I ever wanted to do but play football. And then as I got older, I realized I wanted to coach. And, Tesvo was my linebackers coach at Saginaw. And he was a formative guy for me because I saw how much fun he had doing his job and, how much fun he made it for us as players. Like, that was something where I'm like, I think I could do that. My dad being a high school guy, I never really was interested in high school. I always wanted to coach in college. So, he was definitely a big part of that and getting me interested in the college game. But yeah, after I got done playing, they let me stay on there and kind of GA'd and then started branching out from there.
I know, obviously now here being in Big Rapids, what's it like being around the Big Rapids community and getting to know a lot of the people here in the town?
Yeah, I love it here. We live just north of town, just about 10 minutes from here. And, the kids go to great schools. They've started working their way up through. My oldest is in 3rd grade and my youngest is starting preschool. So we're starting to meet more and more people in town through different things, through sports, through school, through work and things like that. And my wife really enjoys it here. It's a nice community. It's, safe. There's enough to do around here that we don't get bored with the parks and different things like that, getting outside. And we've just really enjoyed it so far. And, it's a different experience than other places I've been that are a little bit bigger, but I really enjoy it. Life's about the right speed for me around here.
Finally here, we'll talk a little bit about Saturday. What's the preparation, I guess, been like here as you get ready for Michigan Tech on a little bit of a short week after the game at Wayne State this past weekend?
Yeah, Tech's always a tough opponent. I mean, they're super well coached. They got guys that play really hard. They always have good scheme. They've got some really veteran guys on offense. The quarterback and their 3 receivers have been around, it seems like, for a really long time. So they've given us some trouble in the past on offense with certain schemes and, with a couple of big plays they've hit on us. So we're very focused on our preparation, making sure that we're buttoned up because, they on defense, they do a lot of things. They're very multiple. They blitz and stunt and drop guys, and it can be confusing if you're not prepared. So I think everybody's very, very dialed in this week and making sure this is a good week of preparation because, I can remember they came here 2 years ago and it came down to the last possession. It was 28-20 and they had the ball. And, I don't think that we were necessarily that prepared that year for that, maybe looking ahead or, we had just lost a tough game the week before, kind of hung over from that one. So that's not going to happen this year. We're going to be ready. We're going to have everybody focused. And I think the players feel the urgency that with 5 games left, we don't have time to mess around with, overlooking anybody or, skipping out on preparation. We're going to be locked in and we're going to be ready to go.
Grant, thanks for the time. We're approaching, I think, Coach Parker's record. So great work here today, and best of luck coming up on Saturday against the Huskies.
I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
We'll be back with more of the Bulldog Blitz Football Radio Show presented by Two Hats Ranch right after this break. And welcome back, everyone, to the Bulldog Blitz Football Radio Show presented by Two Hats Ranch. Rob Bentley and Sandy Golston with you. Final segment here as Ferris State gets ready to host the Michigan Tech Huskies coming up on Saturday at 1 o'clock right here at Top Taggart Field. And going to be fun to see this Bulldog team back here at Top Taggart on what should be a great afternoon.
Yeah, weather's actually looking pretty good. And I know for our Bulldog fans that toughed it out in Detroit over the weekend, they're probably glad for some good weather. And so Bulldog fans, if you were down in Detroit and you didn't get that good weather, you're welcome to come up to Big Rapids and get your parking tickets early, get your game tickets early, and come and support the Bulldogs here in what should be, knock on wood, some good weather on Saturday.
Of course, this part of another busy weekend. It seems like they're all busy weekends here in Bulldog Athletics. We got Ferris State Soccer at home both on Friday and on Sunday. They'll take on Northern Michigan and Michigan Tech, a pair of 1 o'clock games at the Bulldogs soccer field. The Ferris State basketball team's hosting the second annual Dogs After Dark on Friday night here at Wink Arena as they will give fans an opportunity to come out, get some prizes, some free T-shirts, some free food, a chance to meet the men's and women's basketball players with a special special Midnight Madness type event on Friday night. So some big home events taking place along with Ferris State football here on Saturday afternoon.
Well, you're right. It's another busy weekend, but once we get into the fall and then we get the early fall is busy, and then you get into that part of the fall where it's overlapping with the winter sports, and then it gets super busy. But it's a good super busy, and there's some great events that are going to be going on. Going to get a chance to see soccer back at home. It feels like it's been a while since soccer's been at home, and they're going to get the UP schools, so that should be a lot of fun for the fans to be able to come and check those out. And obviously it's great. Bulldog football. It's going to be exciting to have them back on the gridiron here at Top Taggart with a great crowd coming, and some Michigan Tech fans that are going to be coming in as well. And the Bulldog fans are looking to liven things up out in the parking lot before the game, and then bring that energy into the stadium.
Of course, you can be a part of the tailgating atmosphere. Join the Gridiron Club. You can find out more at ferrisstatebulldogs.com. Bulldog hockey on the air this weekend as well, as Brody Kaiser will make the trip out to New York. Ferris State taking on St. Lawrence this weekend in non-league play before they return home next week to host the Bemidji State Beavers. The Ferris State volleyball team is at the Midwest Region crossover this weekend in Hammond, Indiana, trying to keep their unblemished mark alive. Number 4 in the country, now 17-0 overall, off to a great start under head coach Tia Brenda Wilhelm. We got the men's and women's cross country teams in action at Saginaw Valley after a couple big meets this past weekend. They're geared up to host the GLIAC Championships a week from Saturday at Khaki Golf Course, and men's golf right now in Findlay, Ohio here early this week. The women's golf team heading to Florida next week. I'd love to be in Florida, although the weather seems like it'll be a little closer to the Florida type weather here this weekend.
I think we're going to be blessed. This gets to the time of the year where it's a little spotty what kind of weather you're going to get, but right now, keep your fingers crossed here. It looks like we're going to have some good weather, and you might still want to bring that quarter zip or that fleece just in case, but we're looking at some pretty good weather coming up.
The Bulldogs right now number 4 this week in the American Football Coaches Association poll, number 5 by D2Football.com, as Ferris State comes in with a record of 5-1 overall, 2-0 in the GLIAC to face Michigan Tech on Saturday. Again, we'll have all the coverage right here on Sunny 97.3 and online at ferrisstatebulldogs.com. Also the live video coverage on Flow Sports with TV coverage provided by Ferris State Television. We're live in the Flint area on Metro Flint News Talk Radio. A lot of different ways to follow the Bulldogs, and hopefully a lot of those fans not only follow us, but follow this team back home here and are in attendance on Saturday with a big crowd hopefully expected.
Yeah, we certainly like to have you listening to us on the air, but hey, man, if you can join us at Top Taggart Field and really take in that full experience of a Bulldog football game, and after hopefully the Bulldogs get a win, and you get a chance to meet some of the players and watch them ring the victory bell. You get a chance to enjoy the atmosphere out in the parking lot during tailgating before the game, and you meet some of our Gridiron Club people, and maybe they inspire you to join the Gridiron Club. So there are a lot of great things that go on at a Ferris State football game, and so if you're listening, that's great. If you can make it, that's even better.
Of course, after this game, the Bulldogs just 2 more home games left here in the regular season. So hosting Michigan Tech this Saturday, then November 9th, Saginaw Valley, November 16th, final regular season game against the Davenport Panthers here in Big Rapids. So hopefully we have some chances beyond that for the fans to catch Ferris State football here at home in the Division II playoffs, but a lot of work to be done here in the final 5 games of the regular season.
Yeah, tremendous amount of work to be done. You just went over our home games that we have left. I mean, those are some tough games that the Bulldogs have left in terms of the home schedule. So it's going to be very, very difficult. And so it's really great to have a good home field advantage, and a big part of that is going to be the fans, and so they're going to get a chance to see the new video scoreboard. We're excited about that as well, but we're going to need our fans because it's going to be a tough run down the stretch here for the Bulldogs to take a swing at winning the GLIAC championship and take a swing at getting back into the NCAA playoffs.
Got to give a shout out to Trinidad Chambliss, junior quarterback for Ferris State, named the GLIAC Football Offensive Player of the Week for the second week in a row. Had a nice game spread out over 2 days in last week's victory at Wayne State.
Yeah, he was very good again, and really great to see him continue to grow, and did a great job running the ball, and had that huge run that really countered as Wayne State had rallied, got 2 touchdowns, pulled it within 3, and he had a huge run that really helped put the Bulldogs back in the driver's driver's seat.
Of course, hard to believe this is episode number 8, almost to a conclusion here at the Bulldog Blitz football radio show. And had a couple great guests again this week at Bryce George, Grant Caserta, assistant coach for Ferris State. And we've kind of been working our way through the coaching staff. We've had a Bulldog player on every show, and really a chance to get to know some of these individuals a lot better associated with Ferris State football.
Yeah, and it's been great. And, selfishly, it's been cool to get some positive feedback for the show and how it's gone, and to hear from not only our people, but to hear from people externally that are watching the show. It's really good. We heard some positive things about it when we were down in Detroit at Wayne State. And so it's a really cool opportunity for us to really bring a little bit of the personality of some of our coaches and our players to the fans.
I know Coach Caserta was aiming for the record set by Sam Parker a week ago. I'm not sure he got quite to the record for longest interview, but it was very close.
It was close. So shout out to Sam. I think you're going to hang on to the championship right there, and keep defending that championship.
We certainly would like to thank the president of Ferris State University, Dr. Bill Pink, athletic director Steve Brocklebank, our entire game day staff, communications teams for helping make this broadcast possible, along with our advertising partners, including Two Hats Ranch. Big thanks to Steve Masters at the Sunny 97.3 studios as well for all of his work, both with this show and throughout all the broadcast coverage of Ferris State athletics action. Of course, got to give a shout out to the entire team, the medical team, the game day operations team, the equipment team that really dealt with all the logistics here this past weekend in Detroit with the lightning delay. Man,
I mean, there was so much on their plate, just all of our support staff just to go above and beyond to make things happen. And we're so proud to have them as teammates, and they're the unsung heroes that help this thing keep going.
Don't forget, Saturday kickoff, 1 p.m., Ferris State hosting the Michigan Tech Huskies in GLIAC football action right here at Top Taggart Field. For Sandy Golston, I'm Rob Bentley. Thanks for tuning in to episode number 8 of the Bulldog Blitz football radio show, presented by Two Hats Ranch.